have lived a good life.
I have lived a good life.
I have lived a good life.
I have lived a good life.
So this commercial, brought to us by the United Nations Sustainable Development Fund, showed up on everybody's television just a few years before the pandemic, and you had all the old people just signing off before the Jonestown culling. And so this mass extermination is just ramping up. According to the Deagle.com report, we're talking about millions and millions of people that are going to be executed by the New World Order. What can we do to survive the purge? That is the question. We've been talking about electromagnetic warfare. They're just flooding the surface of the earth with radiation, all sorts. And that's certainly one aspect of the genocide. But obviously, if you've been paying attention, they're spraying people like bugs with the chemtrails. They're poisoning the food, the air, the water. There's chemicals everywhere. And so surviving the New World Order madness is going to be a difficult task. And not everybody's going to make it, but I hope that people in this audience make it. And hopefully, by talking about what's going on, we can devise a strategy for survival. You know, a lot of people are focusing on storable foods. They're focusing on basic necessities, electricity, surviving some kind of EMP or whatever, but chances are everything is being poisoned right now. Most of the things that you order from the internet are probably laced with something. Most of the things that we get at the grocery store are full of chemicals and the like, and nobody's growing their own food. Nobody wants to kill their own chickens, and so we've become weak. We've handed everything over to industry so that we can be fed and taken care of. And essentially that's at the core of the problem. We're not self-sufficient, and we don't want to be self-sufficient. I don't think anybody wants to kill a cow or a goat or anything like that to survive. But essentially, that's where people should be heading, having their own little farm, if you can afford it. I mean, you look at the rent these days, you look at prices these days, and it's just like, how do you even think about escaping the grid, escaping the matrix? And for years, it's just felt like it's the matrix out there. It's like a splinter in your mind. There's something terribly wrong. They tell us it's the planet Earth, but what does that mean exactly? They tell us it's the year 2022. How do we know exactly what year it is? Really? And so the more you think about where we are, when we are, the worse things tend to look in terms of what's really going on. Might as well be the Matrix to a certain extent. Is there any surviving? We're going to find out. And apart from, growing your own food and being able to produce your own water supply that isn't contaminated by frack wells or some other runoff besides basic necessities, being able to generate your own power. You know, in theory, it would take our very own community to make it through this. We'd need like some type of village in the middle of nowhere where outsiders are not welcomed and we just produce our own goods. Everything is made local. That's how it used to be back in the day. Every village, every town was essentially a farm town, and people were growing their own food, making their own bread, butchering their own meat. There was a butcher, that way, you know, not everybody had to do that. There were some engineers, people that were making houses and the like. If anybody out there is a closet billionaire and you want to donate some land, we'd like to get that community started. Let us know in the comments. But essentially, that's what we're going to need to survive. And I've been scoping out a lot of terrain over the years, trying to find, you know, someplace that's safe from the outside world, but real difficult. We were talking about the alien apocalypse in a previous broadcast, and essentially it happened in this area. It happened in this mountain range. This footage is essentially exclusive. Nobody's seen this village for hundreds of years, for the most part. But essentially this is the area where it all went down. The UFO, a giant upside down pyramid cloaked, hovering basically outside my door over this mountain range. Imagine people gathering the stones in the valley. Not sure how many people have seen a real rustic mountain valley before it becomes civilized, but it's just rocks everywhere. You have to gather all the rocks, clear up the valley, clear out the pasture so you can farm the land, and you use the rocks to make walls and homes, roads. A little village in the middle of nowhere. Any case, the water there was just crystal clear too. But moving on, talking about surviving not only the alien apocalypse, but whatever's coming next is just getting worse. We keep probing the audience, a worldwide audience, trying to find out, you know, what people are experiencing in their various locations, and essentially everyone is getting hit with the radiation poisoning, mass fatigue, unusual fatigue, headaches, eye aches, body aches,